Today in the leadership program, we have Mr. Surya Bhushan from Development Management Institute. He is associate professor and also coordinates PGDM program. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You have held key positions at Education Institute throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector?
The key factor, which is basically forcing me to connect in this particular sector, because I already spent me almost a decade with pure corporate sector. I was doing consultancy with Accenture Consultancy, and then 6 years ago, almost in fact in 2015, I moved into academia, and that's to my own home state. So. Uh, in fact, I was working with Accenture, traveled across the globe also, and then suddenly, in fact, on one trip when I was in Manhattan, and I was having in the Times Square with one of my very close friend at JNU, where I got my PhD also. So then I decided I have seen what kind of world it is, and then wanted to contribute something to society. That is what prompted me to come back. It's my personal drive, so I do not want to change anyone. First, I wanted to change myself, and that is what it forced me to, in fact, come back to my home state. And that is how I landed up in Patna in 2015. So this is what has drawn me, and since I believe that, particularly in the Bihar, education is very important because we all know Bihar state is dominated by agricultural land, and the manpower is huge. In fact, it has the highest density when it comes to the population in Indian states, among the Indian states, the latest census data. So, the biggest asset to this particular state is only the human capital. And how can you create a human capital if you start putting skills into the mind of those humans, right? Because the human capital is like a tools of the mind. So unless until they are not aware of the good quality education, what are the skills required, they cannot function as a human capital. So this is what also was another factor. The third factor, in fact, you can say Bihar is a highly underdeveloped state, and I wanted to work something on the development side, and that is why I joined a very new institute. This is what development management institute, and so I thought the best laboratory when it comes to the development sector is available in Bihar. So I can interact and go into the field to understand in fact generate some key insights regarding the issues the whole development world is facing, or in fact globally the world is facing. That is how.
What is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
Leadership something, in fact, so far what I have, in fact, my professional career is as well as in the personal career, I noticed one thing. Leader has to take a decision, right? This is the first and foremost thing. How can you take a decision if you know the competency, right? If you know what is there. So first of all, I believe the professional competency is very important in any decision making. You take a decision with all kinds of all options you have already explored and understood. On the basis of that, a person can take decision, and that makes a good and bad leader also. Even if you are considered to take a decision and you are not professionally competent, uh, then that also that is never considered a good leadership also. So decision making is also not it's a necessary condition but not sufficient. Sufficient condition is you have to have back with the professional competence. That is what in two words you can define the leadership.
The education system in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. In your experience, what can inbound student gain from studying here in your college?
In fact, here in fact, the education system is more towards not towards the creating a body of knowledge or creating a learning space rather than it's cracking some exam. So you are more informed, but at the same time you're not more knowledgeable around it. So here, the if you speak with any of the students, they might speak about what is happening in the global space also. But if you ask about the how do you understand the world around you, they would be in fact finding a struggle. They would be struggling to explain that. So that it's a I believe it's a disconnect with the reality. That is where we are lacking in education system a lot. And in this segment, I would like to state further at DMI, we are taking extra care of how to handle those elements also, because that is how we have designed our the whole PGDM program. We call it a PDM program, Development Management Program. We start with the focusing on the few of the in fact the terms to begin with. Uh, uh, in fact, the whole program is divided into 5 terms. So first 2 terms we are focusing particularly on the knowing part, and then they go into the field. They spend time in the field for almost, in fact, in the total 2 years program, 30% of the time they spend in the field. So that is what we call a immersion as well as the internship, and we have given other name enterprise learning. So all these three segment of we call experiential learning, because we always believe that the student learn through the induction. Once they induced into those context and exposure to those kind of world, they would be in a better position to understand what is happening. That is what. Anyway.
Any insight into how your university or college could be more welcoming to a student of different races or economical background?
Yeah, that is what the focus is also, because this is autonomous, given by the government of Bihar. All the funding is coming from the state of the government, government of Bihar, Ministry of Department of Rural Development, and they have given a corpus so that you should not worry about the operational part also from the running of the institute, and focusing more on the kind of education which you are imparting on. So this we are also, in fact, the only criteria which we are, in fact, currently following for the admission to our 2-year PGDM program is you should have to have AICT approved institutes. So that is where these, in fact, the scores are important also. But at the same time, we give only 50% weightage to them. So the 50% is we after we shortlist those candidates, they have to go through group discussion, group exercise, and then they have to go through some development aptitude test, and then we take a interview with a panel which is from one internal and one external, and two internal or one external. That is how. So it goes through a lot of, in fact, a detailed process through which the student got into the admission. It looks like easy because we do not give a lot of importance to the CAT score, but at the same time, what we try to see the student, what is their orientation towards this particular course, because this is not easy course. In fact, to spend 2 years here, and ultimately you have to work in the development sector. So you're not going to have to join some global company, running business and traveling, in fact, across the globe. So this is how, in fact, this course is designed also.
What do you think your rules and responsibility to the college and the students whom you want to see after a certain period of time?
See, I am handling the whole program. So basically, I involved into the coordination of the program. So it start with the basic, the design of the course, which course has to be offered in which term, who is going to facilitate those sessions. We call it an interactive learning session. We do not call it a lecture because that is how the mode of learning is also. And even the students are not called the student. We call them participants. because they also take a participation in the whole learning process. So we also, as a facilitator or faculty, we also in fact learn with them, and they also learn. So this is the learning process which we try to follow in this. As, and every year we go with a revision of our curriculum also, so that we try to see whether it is adaptive to the, in fact, the needs, as well as the flexible, and at the same time it has to be compliant with the international standards. So that is what the focus is on, right?
Right. So what do you think should be the college top priority over the next 10 years?
10 years is, in fact, is very long time period, because we have recently, currently we are operating from a transit campus, which is centrally located in Patna, in fact on the vicinity of Gandhi Maidan. But at the same time, we also got, in fact, uh, the building approval and all things from the state government and the government of Bihar. Um in fact, the Department of Building Construction, they are in the process of making those buildings. It is in data. So we got our own campus, and in fact, the Chief Minister of the state is very keen on this particular, not only the concept, as well as wanted to see this institute coming up very well. So after we'll move to the new campus, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, how much time it will take, it all depends on the construction of the building. Then I think the way we are expanding, because it is not only we are in running the PGDM program, we are also running two other centers, which is, one is Care Center, which is considered as a collaborative action, research and education. So there we collaborate with the, in fact, the communities. Like for example, we have adopted one basic school in Bhiti Harwa, where Gandhi, in fact, started that basic education. So, and we try to see how the education, the mode of learning itself, so how the education sector itself is getting evolved. So, it's a particularly in the primary sector, primary education. So, it's a direct collaboration with the community, and in the process, we are also doing research to come out with some actionable points. Same, we have adopted two gram panchayat to make them orient to how to, particularly in the leadership side, how to, in fact, do much better with the given capacity at the local level. So this is what. So those aspects would be also coming. The care centers. There is a one competency enhancement program, which is considered as a management development program in other business schools, MDP. We call it a competency enhancement program, through which we are also have a short module of training to those development practitioners, as well as the functionaries of the Panchayat Raj institutions, local government institutions, as well as many development practitioners. So we are also doing that. This is what the future plan is also.
What would you like people to know about your university they may not know?
In fact, see, this is very unique experiment, rather, I would say, in India. There is one experiment already going on, and a lot of other institute has followed those. It has started with the IRMA, where they have started focusing especially on the rural management side. What Bihar and what DMI is doing, because here we are not considering only the rural part which needs to be managed. So the development sector is also very well entrenched into the urban area. So we are seeing the development management as a holistic approach, not in it's an urban rural continuum in that way. And in fact, the Honorable Secretary always used to say that uh, the poor should not be treated, in fact, served poorly. So who is the best person to serve them? Unless until we are not able to produce the best development management professional. So that is where the whole focus. So it's a very long journey. I think it will take a very long time, but it's a very sustainable and very much going to be sustainable, and it would be very long lasting. Also, that is how I can see
What do
being
you
a
see as
student.
what do you see as college's greatest strength?
College greatest strength is the experiential learning, as well as the diversity of the faculty who are very passionate in accomplishing those tasks. So uh, initially we get a student who are, if you start thinking of those the numeracy skill or the communication skill, they are almost like an average. But the transformation which takes place in this 2 year program, you can speak with any of those who have passed out. Uh, you can see the big transformation in not only their mindset, but at the same time their skill set also. Because this is the biggest achievement we can also claim that.
Any suggestion you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
Uh, Masses regarding what in one feels about to development sectors, this is definitely the place to go. There is no denying the fact. In fact, we have already, in fact, this is the 5th year. It's a very new institute, so very few people also know about this institute, and even in Bihar also, because we are not, in fact, going with that level of endorsement, or you can say the marketing campaign. What we believe is whatever change we are able to make in the society, if any of the person who is entering into the premises of DMI after 2 years spending here, their mindset, their skill set, it's a completely transformed. I think our job is done in that way. Although it's a very long drawn process, but that is where I believe it's, in fact, we can do a lot of change in society.
How do you tend to establish a healthy relation and environment in your college?
Healthy environment, that is where we call it, in fact we do not call them a student, we call a participant. So it's basically co-learning which is happening. It's not like a one way learning is happening, right? So, and they go into the field. As a faculty, we are also mentoring them and go into the field, spend time in the village. We also live with them in the village to understand the context, as well as understand with them the context. So this is a very different kind of learning environment we are producing.
Right, sir. So, thank you, Surya Bhushan, for giving your precious time to change the youth society of our country. We will make the most reach whatever you have said in this meeting with us, right? We will make all the students to follow what you are saying. Being a college, being a dignitary in Bihar, people should follow and people should respect what teachers want from them. We want totally a good educated society in our state Bihar, right?